recording. I guess go ahead, tell me your name, title, and let's talk about this case from 1987.
Okay, I'm Andrea Purvis. I'm the Dickinson County Attorney. There was, in 1987 in October, a hunter found some skeletal remains of a human being near I-70, but it was there was no access from I-70. It was actually close to near the King Solomon camp north of I-70. The law enforcement at the time here in Dickinson County contacted Dr. Finnegan from Kansas State University, who's an anthropologist. He was able to provide some identification as far as the remains go, that it was an African American woman between 40 and 50 years old who had a gunshot wound to the back of the skull. They also found with her remains a t-shirt from Titusville, Florida from like the 1980 cross-country championship team, as well as a grocery sack near the remains, also from California. So what they did is they sent the skeletal remains to a lab where they did the DNA, and they input that information into a missing persons type website with that information, hoping that at some point we'd be able to identify the families of this missing woman. So I think my understanding is that there have been a couple times in 2008 and in 2012 where there was interest, or where they thought they might have somebody that matched that description. However, once it was tracked down, they did not identify that as the woman that was found here in Dickinson County.
It seems, I mean, interesting that you have little bits of, California, Florida,
right,
and these other places potentially of interest. I don't know, it just seems so complicated. But I don't know if it is. I mean, it just seems that way, at least to me.
I know that investigation was done at that time. Obviously, we don't know what type of investigation was done in Florida, but we do know that the Florida officials did reach out to our understanding is that they reached out to the high school, and there were other investigations that were done along the way, but so far we haven't found her family. And it is kind of sad to think that this person is here, and she was a daughter, she may have been a mother, she may have had children of her own, and so you're right that it's interesting and it's a little sad as well.
What would, for you, I'm curious, what would it mean for you to be able to go and help bring closure, to go and find out who this woman is, and finally, I mean, I know she's buried, but to lay her to rest properly?
It would mean a lot. As it is right now, we have a second John Doe from an earlier time period, and so we have a John and Jane Doe here. One of the things that Jerry Davis, the investigator for Dickinson County now, he's the one that told me about all of this, and he and I talked about it, and the fact that these people have no recognition here. The John Doe was buried without any kind of marking on the grave. Investigator Davis was able to work with the cemetery officials to actually find where he was, and we were able to exhume him a couple of years ago to get DNA to hopefully find his family as well. And we talked about the fact that neither one of these people had any kind of recognition as far as being alive.
Sure.
And so I actually started a fund at our local foundation to provide headstones for both of them. And hopefully at some point we'll find their families. But until then, our community is interested in doing a service for them, as well as providing headstones for them. So,
where are you in that process?
Right now I have a fund that I created at the Dickinson County Community Foundation. There's a local person here that does the headstones who's willing to give us a big discount and basically do it at cost for us. And so right now we're just raising money for that.
What's the response been like with that?
So far, there hasn't been a lot of funds raised, but I haven't done a lot of fundraising either.
I get
So
it.
yeah, but it's not a huge amount. So we're going to need somewhere around $1,200 to do both, and so hopefully that will happen sometime soon.
Why did you want to go and pursue that though?
Because it just seemed wrong to have somebody that obviously either died or was brought to our county who were victims of a crime. It was wrong that we not acknowledge them because they are somebody's family. So that just meant a lot to me to do that, and Investigator Davis, I think it meant a lot to him to do that too. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, to me, I was looking at, and I just got this idea of, I do missing persons reports at our station. And so I'm like, I was looking at the national database with the Institute of Justice, and I was looking at everything there, and I'm like, oh, well, let's look and see about because they have a tab, missing people and then unidentified bodies. And so I looked at that, and I'm like, we have 25 here in Kansas, and I'm like, those are 25 people who just, I'm like, they belong to someone.
They do.
And I mean, it's sad to think that they're, that someone doesn't have an idea that they're there.
Right. And someone somewhere has to be missing them.
Sure.
So.
Or did at least. So.
Yeah.
I don't know, but anything that we can do, and looking at, I went through all the different files, and the pictures that are uploaded on there and everything, and then I saw that T-shirt, and that's what really stood out to me. Is I'm like, somebody, there has to be something connected to